Oh. The organizer approach calls upon each of us to find the skills, the power within ourselves. Sometimes we need to support to show others how, but this is not the same thing as doing for. Sometimes the results are not the prettiest, most efficient, but they work. That's the bottom line. Sometimes it seems quicker to do it ourselves. But if you remember, there is more than one goal to these things we do. Getting it done, yes, but also empowering people. It really is not faster in the long run. The empowerment part applies to you as well. Almost without expectation, we can all improve our self-esteem, self-expression. Last but not least, organized builds the feeling of group solidarity, and so it builds the group. And that, so many things on that, I think. You know, it's not always the prettiest. It sometimes is the hardest conversation you can have. Um, but also, people often will, especially after so many years of being so loud and opinionated, people will sometimes offer me things to shut me up. But I know that that's not going to help the cause in a whole. If they're only going to give me a van because I'm complaining about the bus system, well, that's great for me, but what about the rest of our people? What about the rest of our people? And that's what I always, come back to in my personal thing is, well, that's nice. And I'm not saying, at times I haven't done that because life requires that, but as a whole, we're all here and every that's what I was gonna say earlier, sorry. I vision every person that whether you're in adapt, not in adapt, support, not support adapt. In my vision over the decades, I've learned that if we're gonna make this world an accessible place for all, we all have to work together. And what may not be my cup of tea at sitting at meetings over and over and doing certain things, that's not for me. I'm a very, vocal. I'm only gonna sit there and be able to keep my mouth shut for so long. But adapt's not for everybody, but everybody's not for adapt either. And so, but we all have a piece of the puzzle. And I feel like if this world is going to be, and people benefit from our, what we do as, whether it's direct action or not, things get done. And other people, they benefit out of that. I love it when I have to fight people with strollers to use a curb cut because they're using them for their kids, which is awesome. But dang it, I need that curb cut too. Um, so it's just it's I forgot what's going. Okay, so how we organize the lineup. Um,
Holding our ground
non-violently. um that's hard, and we work hard on staying non-violent. I mean, we really, you have to go through, KK will tell you, I mean, if you're in a chapter, you're getting reminded that constantly, and that's what you should be in. But even that first day of an action, you go through trainings that first morning. As soon as you come in, that first day, right, KK, you're going through a training on not to be, if you start to feel a little overwhelmed, step away. Let one of your leaders or one of your organizers know, because because here's what the problem is. And we also have a big saying that we don't leave any trash behind. We leave it cleaner than what we came to, because we want what we came for to be what's on the news or what gets covered. Not, oh, these disabled people left a mess and teared up stuff and this and that. That's not what we want to make. What we want to know is the FDA going to do right by Judge Rottenberg Center? You know, are we, you know, those kind of things. That's what we want to make the news, not other stuff. Oh, arrest and jail. We are a nonprofit. God, we're such a nonprofit. I have done probation. I have done community service. But again, we just recently got a person out of the nursing home that had been there for 5 years. And does it make it worth it? Yes. But again, I believe everybody does their part, whether you're in ADAPT or not. It has to be done. And it takes a puzzle, and we all have to make that puzzle piece. Social media, well, that's a hit or miss. You never know what they're going to do or reconstruct your wording. We all been there, I think. I mean, you gotta, that's a love-hate relationship there. So, yeah.
Can I share something real quick? So this year in North Carolina, we were at the it was the housing authority, right, Nikki? Where this was day 2 or day 3, day 2, I believe. And was it day 2? Yeah. And so the police were ready for us. They heard that we were marching that direction. And so we were pretty clever and hot on it. And we knew to start calling not just the local news, but the national news. And we did get Spectrum, we did get quite a few national news outlets to connect. But it is really one of those coordinated efforts where, Nikki was starting to, they already occupied. Nikki was starting to really elevate her voice and make her demands. And so I just kind of checked out and said, hey, I think I should, maybe get some people here. And so snuck out the door before they threatened to start arresting. And I walk out the door, and there is, how many cop cars were there? 40. They were circled the entire block, and some of them had their lights on. They were all standing in a row. The police officers were standing in a row, ready for us as we came out the door. And I think, you got to be joking me. And they're like, who's the leader of this? That's the other thing. I don't know. Right, Nikki? I don't know.
Well, what? Who's the leader of KK is KK. Who's the leader of Nikki is Nikki. Who's the
Nikki.
leader of Jay is Jay.
Yes,
And we
that's
all
right.
came here on our own free will to tell you what's up, and that's what we
Right.
did. Exactly,
Yes.
and that is a big thing, and they do want to, because it goes back to singling out that one person who's going to speak for the whole disability community. And that's just not fair. Oh, this is a great. Now, I always love Line Up. It's just empowering. It's so empowering. Go ahead.
Funny thing is, I actually recognized where this picture was taken, and it was taken coming back from Cody Kinsley's office. It was on
And
the way back.
he's health.
He's like, yeah.
He is health and human services. He's as high up in North Carolina as you can get. And they did threaten, or we were told we were under arrest, but apparently they couldn't arrest us.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out how to get you out of jail.
So they did arrest one able-bodied, but we try not to let that happen. We really work hard on protecting our able bodies. Occupying and holding our group,
holding our ground non-violently.
When we get to our target, it is usually active, quickly, and stressful, where we will not be allowed, but we are not forced in any way in. It is way. We go through it. It is filled with body in there. Push, shove, and pull people. It is. I'll tell you, fighting over a door, it is.
Pushing the doorbell 100 times.
And I wanted to say this earlier. We laugh but also there was a lot of tears. when we were at HHS headquarters of North Carolina, as high up as you can go, I was holding tight this door, and people who were not getting arrested, because we don't make the news about who got arrested. We make the news about how many people are there in general. So, but I started crying, and they were like, one of the reporters was like, well, why is she crying? Y'all are not going to jail. You're not having to do anything. And actually, there's me, Brandon, smiling, and I'm not happy at all. And he said, well, we can't even get arrested. I mean, we did something. You said we held people hostage. They told us we held people hostage. Those are serious charges that we were willing to discuss. We discussed everything. So we were willing to take those charges, right, of hostage. They used the word hostage. And then for them just to walk away, we couldn't even have the right to be arrested. And I don't know, that reporter was she took that back because she had never thought of it from that point of view.
Can we share, Nikki, about this one over here, where Nikki did a phenomenal job doing her research? Because on a Monday, what day was that of the week? Was it a Wednesday? It was
Monday.
a Monday. It was a Monday morning. All of the officials actually were they they were meeting in a secret in the church, so to hide from us basically. And they thought that we did not know that they would be like meeting there. And that was the first place that we went, right, Nikki? And she said, I actually heard that you guys hold your meetings over here. Why are all the cars here? Why is And they came out, they tried to manage us, and they offered drinks and everything else. But I think they were so floored, and they what did they do? They let everybody out the back side door, right? As they let us in to get water, so that they protected their people. Let's say that. Nikki, you want to
It
share?
started off with, oh, there's only 2 people here. Remember that? There was only 2 people here. And I said, well, there sure is a lot of cars for 2 people. And so then they were like, well, hold on. And then all of a sudden, this lady suited up came out. Well, not all of a sudden, it took a minute. They were like, oh no. But I want to go back to, there's where our allies came into play. I wouldn't have known this information if people would have not trusted us, me and Jay, with that information, and known that we were not gonna, do good with this. So again, I'm a firm believer in allies. We have to work together, and especially, and regardless of who would have won, in my opinion, we still have a fight. Press release. National Adapt calls on Cody Kinsley. Now, Cody slipped out the back door. And he still says that he wasn't there. If he would have been there, he didn't come to when me and Jay and Jeff showed up there many times, but when we showed up with a couple with 125, and that's me. And luckily it was.
I think in that picture you're actually at the door crying because we were all talking about.
Yeah, I was mad. I was gonna go to jail. And the funny thing is too, that I happened to be at the door where it had the buzzard that would like buzz to let you in. And I drove those people crazy. And I had a police officer come over and tell me to stop. And I said, well, am I under arrest? And he said, well, of course. And I said, well, why would I stop? That's crazy talk. So I just kept buzzing that little button. And then a lady that was disabled had to be come through, but she didn't want a flyer. So that goes back into, I believe that if you know your history of our disability community, you're gonna be proud of it, and you're gonna claim it, and you're not gonna look away from us. You're gonna embrace us. I love it when we're out on an action and strangers come up and say, hey, can we hang out with y'all? Heck yeah, come on. And my people across disability will tell you, you will find someone that you will click with. Right, KK? Scott, I mean, good to see you,
Yep.
Scott.
On the
Um,
line. On the line, we hand out the flyers and we'll talk to people as we're marching, as we're going. And it's a beautiful thing because you do get this unique sense of community that, a lot of honks, a lot of support. Even though we're hogging the road, it's pretty incredible.
it
We,
is.
yeah, but it's really empowering.
It is, and it does. It shows that, we we it just again, it shows, I think it's needed. I think history has shown that with so many other minorities, that that's just what we got to keep doing. That's what the ADA crawl was all about. That's what this whole, let's go back to what is Judy's room. Um, I personally, luckily enough, I came in at 19. I miss Wade. I did not get to meet Wade Blake. I did not get to meet, but I was there and I met Judy for years, and she was right there, and we all, sometimes some of us don't feel like we get recognized. But again, at the end of the day, are you doing this for the whole community? Or that's what my mentor David Whitty always taught me to ask myself at the end of the night is, you know, what if you can go to sleep with your pillow, then you did all you can do, and all your best is all you can do, and so your best is good enough. And that's what's awesome is we live it. So we don't have to be experts. We are experts because we live it. Label jars, not people. Because all of us have a disability, probably realistically. And I always tell people that even if you claim you don't have a disability, well, we have a name for you. Just like you have names for us, we have names for you, and it's called a tabby, and it's called a temporary able body. Because nowadays, with the medical field making us live to 100, that knee's going to give out, that hip's going to give out, your eyes are going to give out. Something eventually you will be disabled. So temporary able body really hits them pretty hard too. They get pretty pissed about it. I don't understand that. They can call me all the negative names in the world. Handicap, which is really insulting. Crippled. I mean, I'm in the South, so I'm used to those words, but how dare I call them a tabby and actually explain to what that is. So out of the national action, you always do follow up. So we do a debrief. And you want to do a debrief regardless of whether or not you were, quote, a leader, which a leader is only in that 5 days. I don't consider myself a leader. I'm an organizer. I organize people. I educate people on what their rights are. And that's the only way the movement is going to keep going forward, is if we all do it together. And so, because we all came to North Carolina and did it together, and Cody blew us off how many times, Jay?
After the action?
No, not after that action.
Before 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
How many times did he blow us off after that action?
Oh no, he's ready to meet every 3 months.
And so that just shows, but we did try all those other 4, but that 5th one hit him hard, that direct action. In fact, it was so ironic. The next day, like KK was saying, we were at HUD in a housing authority, and he had all their people take off of work that day. And so, I mean, not only did they not get much work done, because that's our motto is if you make a show up there, then work's not going to be like usual. It's going to be different today. And then nobody showed up for work at all the next day because he told them not to. So, and this is really what is ironic is how I always go back to, if people put in as much energy to do the right thing, as much as they put in energy sometime to do the wrong thing or to run from us, man, that speaks, I think, a lot, just that. So out of that action of North Carolina, we did get quarterly meetings, and they're already on the books.
Yep.
And
I'd have to pull up the email, but yeah, he's already got the next, well, for the next year, he's got the 3 months scheduled out already.
And also, we went over some things that, we got in the mail that kind of was like, hey, you need to kind of put yourself in check. You don't own me. Because it was about, call him and beg him for something. I was like, look, I'm not begging no more. I've had rights since 1990 and really 73, where you go back to Judy and the 78, 73 actually.
When Judy
And
did the
and you go farther than that before, and so he goes back. So if anybody ever wants to, I want to plug in www.adaptmuseum.net. Maybe you can put that in the chat, KK.
I have all the resources I'm gonna put in the chat. The last slide is the resource slide with all the links to everything. So I'll put that in the chat at the end. Yes, ma'am.
And so, but also we got a meeting, we got a lot of that national. We got the transportation, we hit transportation. We hit the housing authority, which go ahead, KK.
The year before, where did we hit? We hit remember ACL, and the head of ACL came out with a bullhorn. Several of us were able to get a sit down with the head of ACL, and they brought in the head of aging, and who else was, I'm trying to think. But let me just tell you, that was some slick stuff, because there was a very strategic measures in which, the back doors, the front doors, they set off the alarms, they sent everybody home because we were coming. And it was an incredible moment, because then they started opening the doors when we said, oh, no, we have a meeting. They want us here. And when everything, and we got follow-up meetings as well, and we got those direct connections. And that was an action in regard to guardianship. And so, because that affects all of us within our community. And so I can tell you, we got follow-up meetings. They came out and announced, what they were willing to do, where they were willing to bend, and how they were willing to finally give us a seat and a voice at the table that, is ours pretty much. So yeah, so that was pretty awesome. But there's nothing like shutting down DC. We had the police, it was on the traffic reports. And so, getting those seats at those tables is a powerful, important thing. And so, I just want to highlight the nonviolence, but the absolute pure passion of the heart to be heard, that I think is so valuable. So, it makes me almost cry, because it is so important. And, we got to keep that voice and that passion going.
It is, I consider a DAT family more than blood family. And often it's very interesting, because if we bring a partner in, a lot of us are not worried about blood family. Is the DAT family gonna accept them, or whatever? So, but it's not. You hear us laughing, but it is a lot of hard work. And you're there for 5 days. And we are a nonprofit. Let me repeat that. We are a nonprofit. You can't get more poor. So when we get there and we spend all this money, we have to account. And that goes back to the in the documentary. You can't waste a moment. You got to land and get those feet going, get those wheels to the tires and go, and start hitting them before they even know you're in town. And that was awesome. And I'm glad I got to experience life before social media, being an activist, because let me tell you, coming there and them not having the heads up of social media was an ultimate different level. But they do, but still, it's still the same that we're still coming regardless if you got a heads up or not. And so, yeah. We strive to recognize the labor and support drivers' siblings from across the
Spectrum.
of the human experience of our
Here,
sorry.
no, do you want me to do it? Because I'm in the way, I think, with my screen with the
Yeah,
boxes. So,
thank you.
okay, I'm gonna give the forewarning one more time. So if I mess up a word, somebody just unmute and read it out right because I'm disabled. So, um, we strive to recognize the labor and the sacrifice of diverse siblings from across the spectrum of the human experience in our movement. There is a room in our movement for abilities and disabilities, apparently hidden and of all types. We are unafraid to look in the mirror and reflect on what we need to do better always. That is our efforts are part of the process, growing, emerging, and becoming more just, but that justice requires listening, growing, and learning together. In Adapt, we remember our fallen heroes and honor the Adapt gods who brought us back home from an action safely and with success so that we can do it again in the next 6 months. At Adapt, we're pissed and passionate. We also are courageous of a need to do better always, and that our efforts will not always result in what we strive for, but yet we will always persist forward in a perfection way. In Adapt, we begin our journey at the place of rage and love, and we're really glad you're here with us. With love and rage in our hearts, the National Adapt. And I just kind of thought that that kind of brought the whole thing full circle. Um, so I don't know what else you'd like to share. I'm going to see if I had any more slides. I will put I'm going to stop sharing right now, I think, because I have no more slides. That's one I'm going to put in the resource chat. And I think we're going to open it up to questions. But before that, do you have anything? Because there were so many incredible stories. And I know you must have 1,000,001 from all of the actions. But any more that you guys would like to share personally before we start questions?
No, I personally like interaction when I teach. So any questions, we'll start that roll.
Let's just raise our hands, guys. And who Susan, would you guys like to call on who the hands are? Because I can't see all of them. And I'm gonna put the resource link.
I see Gary has a hand. Gary, I see Gary has a hand.
I've got a sound now. Fantastic, lovely. What it is, I've been speaking to one of my good friends nearby because we've been helping each other locally in the area where I live. Obviously, with home care DIY and just the power of conversation and getting each us through difficult times. And it was suggested to establish a campaign group for those patients that are detained to a local psychiatric ward with what goes on there. And I said to Dawn, the police would just arrest us or whatever, we may be smeared or arrested, whatever, or because patients are not getting the best genuine possible care for the amount of money it's costing, obviously. And Dawn's, one of my friends suggested this. What I was going to say was it is that's like a bit of an obstacle. Like the worst scenario is that we have our homes and as property taken off us with as rights being signed away. If that was the case, which has been the case for various other psychiatric patients in the area that they've been detained, and then they've been told by the psychiatrist and the legal profession they can't go back to the home address. And I said, well, what about, and they said that to me, this Dr. Ahmed said to me, we need to see you institutionalized, or the other social worker said, we need to put you in the Bed for Night scheme, which is a homeless accommodation and is homeless on homeless violence and homeless on homeless theft. And then often people are turned away from the exit doors every so often. It's just dreadful, basically. So what I was going to say is is that's like a bit of a risk to start a campaign group. We're losing all these things and then being subjected to more human distress than what has already been suffered. What would you suggest with these difficulties? What would you suggest?
Campaigns are good. Campaigns are ongoing, and so they're good. You can also, in my opinion, build a lot of allies with campaigns. And there also people tend to will engage in a campaign because it is not even though it is a direct action, it's not in most people's mind as a direct action. So I don't really understand. I mean, I think a campaign is a good idea.
Yeah, but when there's too much to lose and we could suffer terrible things happening to us, because destitution, one of my good friends, Stephen Layton, looked like a model out of a magazine before he got processed by psychiatry, and then he wound up destitute. He was attacked on the street with people with fluorescent tubes, and then he basically suffered a dislocated nose. His teeth are in worse condition now. And then when I spoke to him, he wanted a little bit of money, so I got him chips and some tomato ketchup from the local shop takeaway. He could hardly speak. He was just completely health messed up and physically visibly worsened and destitute. And these are the risks of being demised and degraded by the psychiatric services, with everything taken off the human being. And in this area, people winding up destitute and then suffering more distress than what is humanly sensible or not needed. These are the risks of speaking out or being managed wrongly by the psychiatric services.
Are you
Well,
familiar with the Mind Freedom Shield program?
I've spoken to our good friend Jill Kesty a few days ago. I don't know if that is got the maintenance and the staffing to because I know there's been a shield alert for a lady in the UK, and I don't know how to help me. But I tried to find the contact details on my email, the message on my email. What I need to ask the Mind Freedom Shield Alert, which is a really good idea because it fast tracks people's freedom. What I need to ask is, do we know if that is maintained in a 100% proficient support? Because I'm told there's difficulties which I don't know. I'm told there's
Well,
difficulties.
I'm going to put the link to the information for the Shield and for the Shield Alert. And I don't know, I know Jim Godstein is on here right now. I don't know if he'd like to share a little bit of what the Shield Alert is, but that is another form of activism and action. But I will put that information in the chat. And like she said, there's many pieces.
And what you may find you need to do is go beyond the Mind Freedom program, because the Mind Freedom's reach is not only the US, but it's still going to be primarily the US. But if you do some outreach in the UK community, in addition to what the Mind Freedom would do, you might have a greater impact.
So we do have Jim Godstein. I think I see him, and also I see a hand from Scott Cooper. Jim, start, and then Scott. Jim, can you speak to the Shield?
What's the question exactly?
We want to know if it's viable. We know there's some shield alerts. We know Mind Freedom's a little bit reorganizing, but we still have shield alerts, yes?
Yeah. So I guess I don't know what viable means. I mean, sometimes they're quite successful and sometimes they're not. And sometimes, kind of in between. There's like, literally millions of people being subjected to psychiatric force in the United States at any given time. So the demand is inherently infinite, and the ability to respond has, is pretty limited. So like as Susan said, Mind Freedom is kind of reorganizing the SHIELD program at this time. It's kind of in a more quiescent stage right now.
But I
I
would
see
not
Scott has,
say it's totally paused. I just say it's a little kind of we're reorganizing to make it more efficient is kind of what I was
And
is.
we've had some tremendous success, Jim. I think that you're
Yeah,
minimizing as your leadership. You had some phenomenal. There was an article. I'm actually gonna try to get that article and put it in the chat that was just done with in Mad in America, because there has been some tremendous success. So is it viable? Yes, absolutely. Do we want to make it even more expansive and supported? Absolutely. So, it takes a little tweaking, but I want to celebrate Jim's leadership of really getting it rolling. And so I'll put that in the chat. But
well,
I put the field alert info in the chat, the links.
yeah, I mean, sometimes we've had phenomenal success. I mean, we got someone out, an alert went out and someone got released that weekend because they just couldn't take the pressure. And my experience is they don't discharge people on the weekend because the paperwork people aren't there. But they just couldn't take the heat and they just let the person go. But I guess right now we've got this David Russell in Minnesota who's really being abused and has been electroshocked against his will, and recently put in solitary confinement for 4 nights, and they're threatening him with more electroshock, and we haven't really been able to although he thinks they stopped it because of the shield. So sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. And you always have to consider the possibility of retaliation. I see
I just want to
Scott's
jump in
hand
here
is-
and say, if we bear witness to these things, it puts people on notice. It makes them think about it. So even if it's not like a total 100% success, it is like kind of putting folks on notice. And Scott Cooper's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, that we're publicizing what's going on. All right, sorry, Scott.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I just wanted to put a couple action items in the chat. One of them is, what can we do now? And we're creating a petition for Medal of Freedom campaign for Judy Human. And it's going to be before you, thank you, Joe, before you go. And it's on a site that's Disability Advocates. I'll put the link in the chat room in that. We have 31,000 followers. And we want to send it off to Joe January 1st to see if he can, and we did you'll see the campaign, it's a 10-page document, but it puts the side-by-side relationship of Joe is here, signed this, Judy was advocating it. And it goes through the 50 years of Judy's work aligned with Joe Biden's work to maybe get a little publicity, a little gratitude for the other Judy Human. And the second item we're going to put in the chat is, for the last 550 days, we've been meeting weekly for the National Museum on the Mall. And since I have this room here, I'm going to put some contacts for our weekly meetings, Zoom meetings that happen every Monday. But we're trying to create committees advisory committees for each of the 7 identity museums that are currently on the mall. The Holocaust Museum, which is an exhibit with granddaughters of the Holocaust, would be Judy, of course. But then African American, Latino women's, American Indian, and get representation to get to the back door of these national museums to get representation exhibits created. And once they're created, they can be passed through the Smithsonian Affiliation Network and that. So since I had this big room here, I wanted to do a little, this is what we do, we organize, don't agonize. So I'm gonna put that information in the chat. One for the petition for Medal of Freedom for Judy Human. You know, thank you, Joe, before you go. And the second one will be for our 68th meeting for the National History Museum that we're advocating for representation on the mall as well as virtually. And that's all. We can go back to Mind Freedom Information stuff. Have fun. I love you all.
No,
Yeah.
it's all perfect. And Scott Cooper for so many years produced this Judy's Room, and I'm so glad to see you back. So just for folks, you can put your hand up in reactions by hitting reactions, or you can just put your hand up on the screen. I'm trying to watch it, and if I miss you, I'm sorry, just speak out.
And
Well, one thing I wanted to mention about ADAPT that we didn't get to cover, or I missed it if we did with my coughing. So Not Dead Yet was a part of ADAPT. It was an offshoot of ADAPT. It's been an incredibly important organization addressing assisted suicide. And Diane Coleman from Not Dead Yet has presented in Judy's Room at least 2 times, maybe 3, along with Anita Cameron, who is in charge of minority outreach. But Diane died on Sunday. And so it's a huge loss to the disability community.
I believe Zach has his hand up. Zach, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thanks everyone for making the space and for the cool ADAPT presentation. I'm a disabled wheelchair activist in San Francisco, and I've always wanted to get involved in ADAPT, but I've never been able to find a chapter in California or anything happening around here. I was like shocked by that because, you know, Berkeley and SF are such an, you know, historically centered place for disability rights activism. But I was wondering if anyone had info on that, or I
So
see.
we have been
I'm sending it
trying,
to you right now. Go ahead.
but we do not have a California chapter. No. But we would love anyone, and I will look my phone number, and I always say I have no problem on all of my pamphlets I pass out. I have my personal phone number on there, and I have yet had to block anybody. So my number 910-357-1292. And I'm also with the emerging group, and so we can talk about it, but we would love to have, and we've had people, I don't know if you know Tina. Tina's awesome. I actually met her through TikToking and just being fun, but she's really big and she's not far from there, but she has another thing that they do. But she has her own, but anyway, so there is, and that's what's puzzling to us too. Other than, you know, I'm gonna be real. ADAPT is always real, so I'm just gonna be real. Nikki's gonna be real. California right now, we are arguing with HUD because y'all's, like, you know how you got a certain percentage of apartments, like say you have 100 apartments and 5 of them that percent has to be accessible. Y'all have gotten, for whatever reason, and HUD won't tell us, but they've raised California's numbers of percentage of apartments that are accessible from 7 to 12, meaning sensory and physical, to almost 20 to 16. That's almost double than the rest of the United States. And so we're like, where is the push coming from? What, because we all know homelessness is a big issue for all of us. And so we're trying to figure out what made California so special. I mean, not being mean, but why did y'all get the percentage raise and they're not even looking at any other state in the United States on a HUD level to raise the percentage of apartments?
Well, if it
So
makes
I
you
would
feel any
love,
better, we also have the largest prison population on Earth. So
I
if
do
that
know
makes you feel
that. And well, if it makes you feel better, guess what? The part of the government that, if you look at, and I swear you can go look at a layout of any institution, whether it's physical, mental, any institution. In fact, where we went in North Carolina, was the first original, where HHS is now, Health and Human Services, was the first original mental hospital that my mom actually spent time in. And so they have let us down in the mental, every aspect. And so, but what I was going to say is, if you look at a diagram of, first of all, the same government that runs the part of the nursing home are the same that run the damn parts of prison. That, to me, that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. That is on a reason. That is on purpose. And if you look at the layout of a prison, if you look at the floor plan before they build it, and you look at the prison of a floor plan, and you look at a hospital institution, guess what? They're the same. So I don't understand. And we hope, California, there's a lot of disabled people there. And so, y'all have a strong community, which I'm jealous of, frankly. So
I wouldn't say we have a strong community at all. We've got a lot of figureheads that kind of soak up the limelight and stop us, you know, from the main community from organizing or stop us from getting to know each other. But they put on a very good facade for the social media, for the press. But like for example, our big community spaces, they're always empty. Like Ed Roberts Center, all the rooms empty. No one ever hangs
I've
out
heard
there.
that. Yeah.
The ILRC, it's always empty. No one ever hangs out there. If we're lucky, we might have an event once every couple months, 10 people show up. The mayor's office on disability here, they don't advertise. I regularly am the only public comment for like half a year. So whatever's appearing to be a community is not. Like you come to San Francisco, the homeless are disabled. Like our walkers, our wheelchairs, we're on the sidewalks. And then Department of Public Works, DPW, is they got sued because they were taking people's wheelchairs and throwing them in dump trucks when they were attacking the homeless and their prosthetic
Yeah.
limbs and their family ashes, and they don't give a crap. They just throw it all in a dump truck. And then everyone talks
Yeah.
about, all the homeless and how terrible they are. But yeah,
And let me see, I moved here about 3 years ago from Austin, Texas, and I don't want to cut you off that, but Austin, Texas, first of all, the governor is shitty. He's disabled, but won't even acknowledge his disability community. But I often have realized that the way a place or a city treats their homeless is the way they're going to treat us. And I think that speaks volume. I'm a big believer actions speak louder than words. And so I hope that you reach out to me. Again, you can ask KK or anybody for my
Yep.
phone number. Please call me because I want to help. I don't want you to feel alone. I hate feeling alone because I went from being the second biggest chapter in the United States, Bob
The
Kafka,
starting
Stephanie
one.
Thomas, David Whitty, to North Carolina, where people don't even want to get on a Zoom meeting because they're afraid. They are so fear driven. And it drives me crazy because that's so 1970s, that's so 1980s. But the realistic thing is I have to deal with that because I moved here and I want these people to know that there is so much more that they could do and that they need. And it will help me also because right now I'm like, look, I moved from Texas to North Carolina. I didn't move across the world. I didn't move from blah blah blah, and is such a big difference. You know, the whole process and how states run everything so different, and how our government doesn't account for. Oh well, we just gave the state some money and they can do whatever the hell they want with it. Well, that's not really a good plan, as we know.
Nikki, what did you do though? You and Jay started a chapter. So, I
Right.
mean, I'm going to encourage everybody and anybody, because Nikki is one of the national trainers, to get people equipped on starting up a chapter. I put it in the chat. I will tell you that I have been networking in my local state because I had to join my fellow advocates in other states because I didn't have a chapter in my state either. So, I would highly encourage it because it's back to authentic, pure heart driven advocacy and actions. I think it's getting back to basics. And I think that it's not about, the influencers of our voice, let's just say, that maybe get a lot of likes, but it's about the action, stepping out and being a community in unity. And I think that's really important. So I'm glad everybody's here and hearing, because um I'll tell you what, it's so amazing that to really feel that sense of community when you are on action, that there's no words for it. There's really no words for it. So any other questions? I
Well,
didn't want to cut
but
anybody off,
also
but go ahead, Nikki.
it's just lonely. I mean, it is just lonely. I mean, right, Zach? That's what we're getting back to, is just lonely. It's lonely. You know, I often tell people in our world, it's not really about race. You know, if I date black, white, Hispanic, in our world is if you date an able body or do you date within your people. And so, but that's any minority, right? And so sometimes people, will say, well, you date able bodies and you're a traitor on your disabled people. And some people are like, well, I date only, or I only want to be friends. Let's even take it to that level. Some people don't want to be friends with able bodies. And some days I feel that, like, god dang, able bodies, y'all can sometimes be a little bit too much. But it gets lonely. It gets lonely when someone, you know, it just gets lonely, and you see so much potential. And like I said earlier, we've been around since the biblical terms and before, and we keep coming back and we keep fighting, but it does get lonely. And I know that feeling, and it's hard. And here's another thing. A lot of times, counselors and stuff, they dismiss us, right? Well, you're already disabled, whether it be physical or mental. Get over it, learn to deal with it, so that's not helping. We don't get what I consider, we wouldn't get what an able body we get at work with private insurance that asks for counseling, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just I love the ethos of Adapt. It's very different from everything else around here, which is just allergic to political action and civil disobedience and engaging with people in nursing homes. Like, no one talks about that here. We just have lawsuits about abuse at them at Laguna Honda. By the way, there's a great documentary about it called Far From Home by filmmaker.
Really?
Yeah, I
You
Put
know,
it
preserved
I
in
it.
the
have to,
chat.
I have to,
Can
I
you put it
have
in the
to
chat?
show my age. I have to tell you, Scott, my second action was Laguna Honda. And I had never cried so much in my entire life, except when my kid got taken away from me for being disabled as a single mother. That action, and then the fact that they just added on to the broken fucking plywood windows. And I'm sorry, it is, if you've ever been there or go see pictures, it's haunted. If you don't believe in ghosts, you'll believe it after you go there. If you don't, and then, God forbid, every damn electric wheelchair was dead or going on fire, just going up the damn hill to get to the people. So talk about out of sight, out of mind. And then here
Preaching
you
the choir. I know about some of this. I posted the documentary in the chat. I've been trying to hold city officials accountable for all the abuses happening there for years. Yeah, I'd love to hear from other folks. I know we've been talking a lot. Is there anyone else that wants to jump in with some?
Scott
Mark,
has his hand real quick.
Mary Shore had a great idea for his act being in San Francisco. Paul Longmore Institute is right at USF. And yeah, we got to get back to the campuses when you look at people willing to do the deed necessary for progress. And they have a new director, which is Emily, and she's in her mid-40s, but she has a couple young assistants. And I think since you've got funding for your Disability Culture Center already established, it would be a natural relationship to reach out and get that USF relationship.
Yeah, so I've engaged with Emily on multiple occasions.
Okay.
She's she's not a strong ally. But the thing is, Emily, like a lot of people here, they like the power. They like to be the person in charge, and they don't like to build a movement or a collective of people. And everything goes through Emily. She's got a lot of power.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that she doesn't share that power. And for example, I posted in the chat, they did a pretty good job hosting the film festival, but of a town of 11,000 disabled people, I think about 50 maybe showed up. And there were no paper flyers. The accessibility email didn't work. You were supposed to use a QR code to find out what films were playing. Now that said, they did a much better job with the online accessibility this year, and the film selection was fantastic. So it's not all bad, but the thing is, they also hire, there's a lot I could say too for the jobs that don't go to disabled people, and you know that's a whole other thing. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Or the jobs that we get,
We got more hands.
or the jobs that we get that are at half rate.
Sorry, Scott.
No problem.
Well, I think I only knew about the film festival as early as I did was because I've been following it for years. But I was still surprised how late I got information.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah, the other
Zach.
thing that
No,
Emily's done.
Two hands, one
Yeah,
with
let's
a
do the other
number,
hands.
I don't have a name, and the next one is Laura Marie. So let's start with the number person. I don't know who you are.
Sorry, Zach, real quick. Can you tell me that I love documentaries? Can you tell me that documentary on Laguna Honda again, please?
It's in the chat. It's called Far From Home. It's from 2009 by Alyssa Moon.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Luke A. Shooting Star in Oregon. I was really glad to hear about the mission and messages from all of you involved with ADAPT. And I had some suggestions in terms of like therapeutic activism, which I'm a real fan of too. I kind of view it as like the Jedi path of, romancing the wellness and the life force and community and yeah, thank you. And I was grateful to get an update from you, Jim, about the Mind Shield liability. But articles can really be a strong force for advocacy and raising attention for pressing issues, as well as petitions. Yeah, KK, I have somebody in mind that wants to be involved in the petitions side of things. That look forward to speaking to you more about with him. And also the paralegals idea. KK, we've been talking about employing people with lived experience to, establish this new role in the career ladder for peers, which is the paralegals. So look forward to elaborating on some of this
right?
stuff.
Peer legal is what, yep.
Peer legals.
Yeah.
That's good.
And peer advocate within the courts, because rights, violations. Glad that you're here,
Yep.
Luke. Thank you for.
And don't forget peer perspectives.
Cool. I look forward to elaborating on this stuff next month for the Wellness Initiative Network presentation. Hope you can join us.
Perfect. I think we got Laura Marie with her hand up, and then Marguerite, if I'm Marquette. Sorry, I have no eyesight anymore. Go on.
Hi, I'm Laura Marie. I'm in Eugene, Oregon. This is my first time at Judy's room. I was an anti-nuclear peace activist for a long time and did direct action in Nevada, and that's part of why I decided to come to this to see how disability justice could be strengthened with direct action, since like transferring my experience from one realm to another. But I've been helping to run a radical mental health collective, the Las Vegas Radical Mental Health Collective, for 7.5 years, even though I live in Eugene, Oregon now. And last year I got a certificate in disability justice from the University of Michigan School of Social Work. And I got a nice little taste of many different aspects of disability justice from getting that certificate. But I got it mostly because I want to start a fat, queer, disabled dance studio. I love disabled dance, and I think that everybody could dance, and all bodies are valid, and all bodies can be seen, and that we can dance in all kinds of ways, even if just with our eyes or a finger. And I love the idea of gathering disabled people together for dance. And I also dream of a disability justice-centered community, an intersectional community, because I keep trying to live in community, but then I find that disability justice is not there. So then, my body is not respected and my needs aren't respected.
Did you meet Petra Cuppers while you were at U of M?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you meet Petra Cuppers when you were at U of M?
I don't think so. But this certificate was distance, so I didn't always catch the names of all the lecturers.
Yeah, because she has a dance and poetry collective.
Okay, can you tell me that name again?
It's Petra, Petra.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually Q. I think it's Kuippers.
Kuppers. Okay, great. I will look for that. Thank you so much. But if anybody else wants to connect with me in the Pacific Northwest or elsewhere for starting the Queer Fat Disabled Dance Studio or the Intersectional Disability Justice Center community, please, I'll put my contact in the chat. Thank you.
Have you reached out to Sins Invalid?
I've had a little contact with them, but I haven't reached out to them about these things per se. But
They'd be great.
Pardon?
They'd be your new best friend.
Oh, great.
I'll go find a link for you in the chat.
Oh my God.
Also in Austin, Texas, they have it's in their theater, but I'm trying to think what the actual name of it is, but it's mobility dancing. So I'm if you find me on Facebook, Nicky Boyte, I'll hook you up with them and her. So you can just take what they are doing and go from there. But it just FYI, we did a flash mob a couple of years ago for voting, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was all disabled people, and it was just awesome. So I enjoyed it. So yeah.
I so miss the flash mobs. Why do we not do that anymore?
I agree. It was fun. It was really fun.
Susan, let's start it up. Let's start it up again. Sounds like we need to go back to.
I love the flag. Well, we had COVID. I guess we couldn't do it. So I see we have Marguerite Scarlett. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, Maddox, with a cute picture of a dog and a person. I love you.
Thank you. This is my first time. This particular Zoom, and I already put something in the chat box.
You put about danceability?
Yes.
Yeah, Detroit Disability Power has a group that is people with multiple disabilities, but a lot of people who are wheelchair users, and they have classes twice a week, I think.
We are under recess right now because of the lack of funding from the Michigan State funding group. So we are hoping to put on one or two more classes before the holidays, and getting back to the young man from San Francisco. Please be consistently with the city council because I had to fight with my city council about getting closed captions. And I had to being consistently.
I say good job because often city councils do not do closed caption or have a interpreter. So good job. I just wanted to say
Thank
that.
you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
you. Yeah.
Now, right now, I am fighting with them about the planning economic committee because we all need decent housing, and if we can all put our heads together with other disability groups, believe me, we can be heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm done. Thank you.
Good job. I
Thank
have no doubt
you.
that
Thank
you
you.
will be hot on that subject also. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing new hands. Do we have some?
That's what I was about to say. Anybody else with a hand, a question, a comment? This has been some awesome dialogue. I just want to thank our presenters again because um, they I wish we had a recording or something that I could have shown a little bit of the passion that truly does push the advocacy forward, and just amazing hearts. And I love those writings. I'm gonna try to put those little captions of the writings on the chat as well because they were just so beautiful.
And
Oh, David.
I see David has a hand.
Yep.
Hi. Yes, I'm a quad psychiatric survivor who's looked at these issues for decades. So any adept folks or anybody else, can you please address the way we need to bridge very different usable labels? Like some people reject any psych label and get very wary about disability organizing. I one big I use all oppression causes disabilities. But how do you address like running away from slavery has been a label, or homosexuality has been a diagnosis? So how do you bridge folks who are very wary about the labels? Because I live this couple. By the way, Laura Marie, have we been in touch in Eugene? Well, please be in touch with me, okay? Anyway, any adept organizers can address this difficulty, complex bridge work.
Nikki, do you want to? I can share with you, David, that this is something that Nikki and I have actually talked about a lot because, I am a person that lives with multiple disabilities as well. And this is, I think, the start of many different, more unified conversations. But I can also share with you that within the cross disability community, there's been many individuals that have shared, I may have a visible disability that people could see, but that's not my number one thing. That it is mental health they struggle with the most. And so I would love to hear feedback on that question that David posed. How do we bridge the communities? Because I know Nikki and I have had many, many conversations about this, and it's absolute passion of my heart to really build that bridge for all of us to walk down, that have it be safe. And because it comes down to rights, guys, and all of our rights are being violated, and we need to come together in unity. So I would love to hear the feedback and the thoughts, but trust me, this conversation has been ongoing, and that's definitely why we decided to do this, and we're going to be doing a lot more of this.
Can't figure out how to. Can I say something? I can't figure out how to raise my hand. When you were talking about like bridging the gaps, like I think one of the things that in modern day digital world is we forget to like also focus on having like physical in-person relationships. And I think that like we get really excited about like collectives and communities that are online, but then we don't like solidify it with at least some in-person relationships. And I think that it just gets to be like, I don't know, speaking for myself, when everything's always digital, it just doesn't kind of seem as cohesive, and the relationships don't last, they're not as long term. So there's just I like what Laura Marie was saying about also remembering to focus on like community. But I think you said there's like a physical component to it, like actually being in community, So that just came up for me.
Well,
My
exactly,
name's
because in
yeah,
person, we emanate, we
yeah.
emanate vibe, and we don't get that in the digital world, that natural vibration that's just from neuroscience, human to human,
I've often I felt like these days, especially with, I'm going to say the bad word, AI, but especially with some technological advancements, things that weren't accessible to laymen's are now becoming accessible. And like, so I'm currently actually in the hospital in Massachusetts. I've been here for 5 years. But like what I was thinking was like that we could have an app or apps, that focus on helping people connect and not forgetting the in-person. Well, I had this idea for like having sort of like a peer support app. So people sign into the app, they say they have a need, even if it's just for connection, and then you have people that are signed up in the app then connect with other people for that, geographically located, like, because there's so many times patients come in, they're like, oh my gosh, nobody's taking care of my cats, or I don't have any clothes, or I just need to visit with someone, or and it's like we have all these apps. We have apps for dating, apps for finding friends, apps for music, but what about like peer support apps? It cannot be that hard anymore. I'm sure it's not easy, but anyway, that was an idea that I had. So just throw that out there.
Susan, you want to talk about your idea of having an open Zoom room at all times? It just stays open. You were talking about that about 6 months ago, Susan Fitzmaurice. Oh,
Susan Fitz. We're not hearing you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Didn't realize I was muted. I don't think it's going to be open 24/7 because I almost need another Zoom account to do that. And I don't have the money to do that. So I'm thinking that it's going to be maybe one afternoon a week, probably for 3 hours. It'll just be an open time for people to drop in and socialize and network. Because there's a lot of people like me. I'm bedbound. I've been bedbound for 3.5 years. So the only way I see people for the most part is online. So Zoom is my lifeline to the world.
Zach, you have your hand raised?
Yeah. Thanks for all these great shares.
Real quick, Zach, I just wanted to highlight that I put in the chat. There is a peer connection point, and it's through Peer Galaxy. They actually have like a human mapping technology that you can connect with a peer locally or virtually. Laura Rose is a brilliant peer. I celebrate her. She's out in Oregon, but I just wanted to highlight that I put that in the chat. So, and your idea was, and I put her email in there if you want to connect.
Yeah, Laura Rose runs
Pure Galaxy.
Pure Apocalypse.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, she's on our National Museum Committee.
I know, she just asked me to join that one. We were talking about it on another meeting.
She's our ace in the
amazing.
hole for technology and mapping. She's unbelievable digital wizard.
So, sorry, I apologize, Zach. I did not mean to interrupt. I was scared I got it lost in the chat. So.
Yeah, it's all good. I know the feeling. Thanks for sharing that. That sounds amazing. And I'm really grateful for this space because I'm also like Susan. I'm bedbound a lot of the time. I also am in an apartment that's not wheelchair accessible. And that is apparently completely legal. Which I'm sure people in this room will not be as surprised as some of the other people I tell. But and I totally agree when in-person stuff can happen, it's different and it's really nice. And I really wish I could get more people to visit me. But it's hard for some reason to get people to come to people's houses. Like it feels like that used to be an easier thing to do. So I just want to say I really, really, really appreciate this space where we can just hang out, share ideas, vibe with each other, share resources. This has been missing from my life, and I'm just happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you. That's exactly what we're looking to cultivate. So I'm really grateful to hear that feedback. That's awesome. Would anybody else like to share or maybe give some impact, some resources, or just, we don't need questions. You can just share. I know, Susan, I'm going to hand it off to you shortly. Susan Fitz is going to stay on and keep the conversation going. But if anybody else would like to add a little bit, like I said, I again just want to thank our presenters. It was fantastic. It's the starting of the first sticks of the bridge that we're building, guys. So let's celebrate that, right?
Yes. This, this is Margaret Maddox and started. Please never give up. And the word peace stands for peace until something happens. That's it.
Never give up. As I put on my Facebook post and social media today, don't mourn, organize. And that is a phrase that's been around adapt longer than I have.
It's from
Don't
Joe Hill.
mourn,
That's from Joe
organize.
Hill.
Yes.
You know the story of that phrase?
Don't agonize, organize.
No, don't mourn, organize. You know the story of that
Okay.
phrase?
I don't share it. I don't.
Yeah,
Tell us.
tell
It's-
us, please. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, you do. It's from one of my heroes, Joe Hill, who was
Yes.
beautiful radical songwriter. I can sing some of his songs. He used to do You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. And he
Holy
also,
cow!
yeah, old Union songwriter.
We need more singing, right? I love
Yeah. Anyway, but he when he was in jail and he knew he was going to get executed for a crime he was framed for. He wrote a letter to his friends and he said, "Don't waste time mourning, organize." And they mourned for him anyway. They shut down the city. I think it was Chicago with one of the largest parades ever. But yeah, singing. I was going to recommend. There's another disabled group that I'm in the orbit of called Sick in Quarters, and I can post in the chat. They're pretty cool, and they have every once in a blue moon. It's not very common, but they've done like things like this, but where we all make art together. We just draw and stuff. I'm also a vocalist. I love to sing. I also do